Hello there, welcome to Rambling Unlimited. My name is Daniel. I decided to do this space today because, as we all know, John Kelly is going to be leaving the position of the Chief of Staff of White House to Donald Trump at the end of the month. And there's been a search for someone who's going to be taking his position. It's been a difficult one. Nick Ayers, who is the Chief of Staff to the Vice President Mike Pence, refused to take the job. Rick Santorum refused to take the job, at least on air, the one I saw. Christie refused to take the job. So many other people refused.
Tonight, no chief of staff for President Trump. We are reporting Trump is still working to come up with a plan B after Nick Ayers left him at the altar, and the president is trying to spin the situation.
We have a lot of people that want the job, chief of staff, so we'll be seeing what happens over a period of a week or two, or maybe less. We'll announce who it's going to be, but we have a lot of people that want the position.
Okay, so far, plenty of people have run away from the job, including the Treasury Secretary, Steve Mnuchin, and Budget Director Mick Mulvaney. Now, according to the Washington Post, yet a new name. Quote, Trump aides mentioned Rick Santorum as a contender after he was spotted with the president at Saturday's Army-Navy football game in Philadelphia. They noted Santorum's political skills and populist conservative ideology could make him a contender. Out front now, Rick Santorum, former Republican senator and presidential candidate who's also a CNN senior political commentator. All right, let's get straight to it. Senator, good to have you with me. Did it come up at the game? Would you take the job?
Look, it's an honor even to be considered. I think it's a great job, and I know that there are a lot of good people out there. The bottom line for me is just really like Nick Ayers. I mean, my family situation really doesn't allow me to do that right now. I would, again, be honored to do it at some point in time, maybe, but at this point, it just doesn't fit for me and my family, and I guess the answer right now would be no.
Now, Trump being pushed against the wall and trying to make an impression that he has everything in control has appointed Mick Mulvaney as an interim chief of staff. And this is a guy who said that he's basically going to be closing his nose, holding his hand to his nose, and work for this guy who is not a very good person. He's calling Donald Trump that is not a good person.
Yes, I'm supporting Donald Trump. I'm doing so as enthusiastically as I can, given the fact that I think he's a terrible human being. But the choice on the other side is just as bad.
And because Donald Trump doesn't have an option right now, he's appointing this guy in a position where he needs somebody who's really strong. Now think about it. Next month, the Democrats are going to be taking control of the House. Robert Mueller is still carrying on his investigation. A lot of Trump's associates are in trouble. They are helping the investigation, and a lot of them are going to jail and cutting up deals for themselves. So this is a time that Donald Trump needs someone who is strong enough to navigate these dangerous waters this ahead. And there's been so much turnover at the White House. A lot of people leave, and not on good terms. They go out there and they trash the president, and the president trashes them back. Think about Omarosa, Rick Tillerson, most of them. So we're going to see what happens.
A fine-tuned machine. That's how President Trump often describes his administration. But we've seen major turnover at senior levels, always denied at first by the administration. But as of today, Trump turnover stands at 62%, according to Brookings. That's more in the first 2 years than any modern president. And that's just counting the executive office of president. When you start including cabinet secretaries and others, the list becomes unusual. Attorney General Jeff Sessions, FBI Director Jim Comey, National Security Advisors Michael Flynn and H.R. McMaster, UN Ambassador Nikki Haley, Communications Director Scaramucci and Hope Hicks. Add to that Steve Bannon, Reince Priebus, Sean Spicer, Tom Price, Rob Porter, Scott Pruitt, Don McGahn, Omarosa. The list goes on and on and on. And the latest in this very long episode of As the West Wing Turns is Chief of Staff John Kelly, a charter member of the so-called Axis of Adults, who were brought in to steady the leaky ship of state. The group included National Security Advisor McMaster, Secretary of State Tillerson, and Defense Secretary Mattis. Well, come the new year, only Mattis will be left. And speaking of Tillerson, he just gave his first extended interview since leaving the White House, and it was a doozy. Take a listen.
A man who is pretty undisciplined, doesn't like to read. I'd have to say to him, well, Mr. President, I understand what you want to do, but you can't do it that way. It violates the law.
It violates the law. Now, the president, of course, returned fire, calling his former chief diplomat dumb as a rock and lazy as hell. Can't imagine why President Trump seems to have trouble filling open positions.
Thanks for watching. See you in the next episode.